feature there, and we talked about this before, every moment of time you spend there, generates revenue, not for you though. It generates revenue for whatever social media platform you're on, whatever internet service you're using, whatever browser you're using. So that's the part in which you're being consumed. Okay, you're being chewed up because your life is time. It's the only commodity you can never, ever get again. You can be rich and you can be poor. You can be fat and you can be thin. You can be handsome and you can be ugly. But the one thing you can never get back is time. And that commodity is worth everything. So that's the part that's being consumed. The amount of time on a screen is directly equal to the valuation of any of these social media or browser platforms. The only reason any of these things are worth money, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, even LinkedIn, the only reason they're worth any money is because of the amount of users and the time they spend. Advertisers use that to judge whether or not the ad rates are proper. The analytics put out are used to judge whether or not the products are moving to the right demographic. So this entire thought of consuming and being consumed is kind of like a snake eating its own tail. The more time or the more content that you consume online, the time you spend to read and do memes and reply and like, that is how you get consumed, because it's consuming up all of your free time. So taking that veal analogy and theory again, at the end of the day, each piece of the veal is kind of diced and sliced off, and that's the reason for the image I present, with a little price tag for Facebook, for Twitter, for Instagram, for Snapchat, for Google, for YouTube. They have different numbers because each one of those platforms has a different valuation based on users and also based on the worth of their analytics and information they present to the clients who advertise on them. So how are they consumed? How does it consume? Using your time, your valuable, irreplaceable commodity of the time of your day in life. Good explanation. No?
I'd give you a participation trophy, but
Thank you.
you told me you don't like them.
All right, so I did do 110.
Yep.
Okay, this is the last part. That's fun.
How did virtual stars?
Yeah, virtual stars. How are your time and okay? Yeah, I got that. Okay. No, I know what I'm going to use for 115. Okay. Wow, we're really crazy ass close, dude.
That's it. And then 120, we're going to talk a little bit about, but
Yeah.
we'll get there. We'll get there.
Good move. Starting with virtual stars, right?
Yep. How do virtual stars and commodities shape and influence the culture and economy?
When I asked a bunch of my students, what are you going to do at the end of college? What's your plan? No one ever asked me that. And I think because they figured I didn't have one or I was lucky to get through. But when I asked these young people, what are you going to do after college? They literally said to me, Kim Kardashian. They literally said, realistically, not just to annoy me, they literally said Kim Kardashian. They literally said Cutie Pie. Logan Paul. That's like saying at the end of your high school career back in the 70s or 60s, what are you going to do? I'm going to become John Lennon, I'm going to become Paul McCartney, and that's possible for 0.001%. But this answer that I'm getting today is way bigger than the 0.0001%. I use the term that years ago, 80% were kind of workable, doable, there, going forward, and 20% were the oddities that didn't kind of work the same way. That now has switched. 80% are the ones saying, I'm doing this, that, and I understand why. Because they're seeing the Justin Biebers who did 3 YouTube videos and all of a sudden got kind of stardom thrust upon them. They're seeing Cutie Pie and Logan Paul and these other people who are promoting different forms of maybe cosmetics or any brand product. And they're thinking, I could do that. I look like them, I act like them. It's just a bigger ratio of American Bandstand. And in this case, they really do like the beat, and they really think they can dance to it. The problem is no one wants to hear that song. And that song will be gone in 15 seconds. The other reasoning behind it is, let's take a look at 2008. And let's take a look at 2001. Both dates that I keep putting out there, 9/11 and 08, when the financial collapse. On 9/11, the fear of life, oh Lordy, pulled those families closer, but made the guilt bigger if you had to leave that kid again. But it also made this generation traumatized in the sense of fragility and hopelessness of life. 08, a lot of the parents lost their retirement, lost their savings, lost the kids' college funds in this financial collapse. So again, you had this trauma, and again, you had this no belief in the future. So if you're starting to believe that I may die from some horrible event, or if you're starting to believe that no matter how hard my dad or mom worked, the money's all gone, you're not going to look down traditional routes. You're not going to look down the road at the typical American dream. You're not going to look down that road. You're going to say, okay, who else is grabbing what they want and running? Who else is an instant celebrity? Look at Kimye. They do whatever they want, they sell, whatever. But you can't blame them. You can't blame them. When the tragedy of 9/11 happened, when numerous events over the course of the last 16 years has proved again and again the possibility of that happening is higher and higher. When the financial collapse happened and these people worked 60, 70 hours a week for 18 years, 20 years to get that college fund ready, and then overnight it's gone. When the value of their house went underwater within 2 days. All of that hard work, all of that money, all of that effort gone. You really can't blame a generation for thinking, in the immortal words of P.T. Barnum, there's a sucker born every minute. Or the great words of Bruce Springsteen, my hero. There are winners and losers, and don't get caught on the wrong side of that line. And that's reflected in the mentality today. You can't blame them.
Oh, Brucey.
That's right. Oh, Brucey.
How's your time attention structure?
Yeah. I'm not in love with that, David. How are your time? I'm going in. Let me go to do social networks. All right. How much are the ranchers making while your young ones are busy? Yeah. Okay. What is the real price? Okay. Hold on. That line now goes below what is the real price of the so-called convenience. How is your time being structured? Am I right?
Where are we?
We're at 118, I think. 115.
115.
Something else. I look at 119, right?
Yep. Yep.
Do social networks hurt more than they help? How much money are the ranchers making while your young ones?
That's
are
your
being-
that's right.
Okay.
That's the question.
What is the real price of the so-called convenience, and how is your time structured? How is your time and attention being structured? Okay, so those go together well. Okay. Ready? For the last 30 years, I've been involved in the evolution of online. I was fortunate in the 80s to work for a brilliant person at McGraw-Hill Education. I loved my job. Who saw the future and saw that I was kind of a part of it. And through the wonderful nurturing of my good friend, Cesar Del Valle, I was put into this space and really nurtured through his abilities and his help. And I always tell him, I owe my life right now to meeting you. And Sybil Parker, my editor, at the time saying, okay, you've got a good brain, let's try you. Yes, I responded. Yes, I did well from it. But I do love what is possible. The question is, are we using our superpowers for good? And again, I get back to this 80-20 ratio. It used to be that 20% of television and radio and movies was not good. 80% was really okay. That number's flipped. 20% is really okay. A good friend of mine just said to me yesterday, I have to fight through 15 ads and scrollables and pop-ups just to read The Atlantic or New York Times or some quality content. And that's insane. Social media platforms are the same way. When they started, a friend of mine said, there will be no advertising on these. And he was like, God, 30 years younger than me, 20 years younger than me. And I looked at him like, are you insane? That's the only reason they're doing this, is so that they can get you used to it and then charge you. That's basically the drug dealer scenario, right? That's the business plan of every drug dealer during the 70s. The first hit is free. And the same thing is true with social media. They get everybody into one space, and then they start charging them to be in that space. So are they helping? They could do so much more. One of the things I look towards is open access for education. Again, Schumpeter's model here. It's going to blow up education, and it already has. The concern is peer review. The concern is the quality. And this gets back all the way to when anything new is invented, how we guarantee that what will be there will be quality. You take from Book of Kells, the oldest illuminated manuscript, and then you go to magazines where they're so easily replicated. You can see the quality's been lost. But the beauty of this space right now, to change that equation, almost has no cost factor associated with it. Almost there's nothing stopping it besides the individual. Has it hurt more than it's helped? In the early stages, yes, and that's always the case. There were more jobs lost. There were more trouble when the early days of cars or any new invention. Now we have to see how this plays out. Remember, the web is only 25 years old. 93 is when Sir Tim Berners-Lee constructed the first browser called World Wide Web. This year coming up will be 25 years. We have to give it a little bit more time to see how well this generation that was really made to be chewed up in this space turns it on its head and turns it to something worthwhile.
All right.
Stifling a naggy cough. Oh, I hit future. Look at that.
Okay, so we are at 120 now, right?
Yeah.
All right. So what Richard asked for 120 is
Yeah.
that you both ask these questions and then answer them.
Good.
Right. So just do one. We do one at a time.
Yeah.
Until we get to the end of 120, and then it's like we're getting close to the end, right?
We are at the end.
So what is 125 is the end?
Wait a minute. Yeah.
Right, something like that.
Yeah, this is over here. Okay, this scares me right now. Okay, so 120 is the abuse of use of technologies can go on forever.
Yep.
Most people say it's up to the user, but is it really? Yes. Okay. If the only food the supermarket kills, then is it up to you to create the farm? Yes and no. Okay. Can you, I'm going to just do some rearranging here.
Yep.
Can you trust in the political and societal mechanisms like the FDA? Really could have left it as should, I guess, right? David, do me a favor.
What?
Is there, he's probably, would you look in that fridge to see if there's a can of club soda? because I don't have any singles anymore. And this is starting to like burn. It's right underneath my corner.
If it's just seltzer, is that okay?
Don't be a dick. Watch.
Nah,
Last time you tripped on the thing.
It's tonic water. Okay. Yeah, you got she's tonic.
No. You do?
It is.
Yeah, give me a clip set.
Well, there's 3.
Fuck. Yeah, I'll buy them one.
Okay.
I'm dying for that fucking 8-point Rotina. I can't tell you how bad.
I'm afraid what you heard was a lot. Bring me all.
I love Club soda. I really do.
It's weird. I don't like the flavored ones though. I like it.
I'm not a big fan.
I need the regular.
This right here, right?
Yeah, it's good. But it's no, I don't drink it because I don't want. It's like a gateway drug back to
Soda.
first you go diet, then you're right back to the.
I was joking with somebody, and I said, "Oh, I see at the bottom he wrote that."
Well, I wrote that.
Oh, okay. I was saying, once you go back, you never go back. Because the kids, the honors student, this honors student is a really cute girl, Shelby, really nice person, very smart. Just a good kid. She goes, I kept asking what classes you're teaching next, what are you teaching next? And I go, is that because just I'm an easy dope to work with? She goes, no, because I really enjoy the way you teach. I go, okay. So joking around, I go, I know, once you go pat, you never go back. And they were like, oh my God, that's horrible. But it was fine. I tell you the truth, I really loved that the other day with how do you add depth? Oh my God, that was hysterical. I was like, well, I like to read.
It's like you're no longer allowed to ask questions.
Yeah, I have to do it, right?
What? No. I mean, to that guy, the depth. It's like I wish it was like China. Okay, you're like. And
Yeah,
then,
he's out. Exactly.
come on.
And I wanted to say, oh, so you meant the pumpkin.
And it's
okay.
over. All right, so just read the question and then give a second answer.
I'm gonna. Okay, we're good. I'm in the same spot. Okay. Many people believe the abusive use of technologies can go on forever. And the question is it up to the user? Is it up to the people who use them? And I really do believe it is. I believe the whole nature behind the internet is the power comes back to the user. Yeah, it is a rigged game, as all things are, but the user just don't use it. See how quickly apps die. That great commercial, the two bike messengers, and the ad executives are behind them, and they're in the elevator. Are you on WooWoo? Oh yeah, WooWoo's the deal. The executives run in the office and say, get off of everything else. We need to devise a plan for WooWoo. That's a new platform. 20 minutes later, they get back on the elevator, the bike messengers come on, they go, you still on WooWoo? Now I'm off WooWoo. And then they're frantic. So yeah, the people do actually have the power to create the structure. The metaphor for creating that structure is if the only food available to eat is food that will kill you, is it up to the user, the people, to create their own farm? Yeah, it is. Again, my father taught me one thing in life. You have 2 hands, you have 2 eyes, you got 2 feet. Everything is on you. But yes, this is a difficult thing to do, to turn things around. But you really don't have a choice. Should you trust somewhat in the elected officials? You can't even say that with a straight face today. Should you trust in the people you've elected to be your public servants to make sure that the internet is used properly, that there are funds available for inner city schools, that the digital divide doesn't get too wide? I don't think you can trust anyone anymore on that. It's the scary part. During these terrible hurricanes that hit recently, the news channels are talking about the amazing individual efforts to help and save people in the neighborhoods. And yeah, but the reason I give 30% of my income to someone, the government, is that those services should be readily available when a catastrophe strikes. So the concept of paying for 60 years and hearing it turned back as entitlement as opposed to my money in a situation of a hurricane, in the situation of internet safety, in the situation of access to the internet, thinking that that's something you have to do on your own is insane. Protecting your children, of course you do. You have to have common sense to see what they're saying. But the factor that you should make sure these companies don't abuse, that's pure insanity. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to jump to 122. Should I be answering and asking these as well?
I this whole list up to so.
Okay,
Who wish to
end.
do so?
Okay,
Um,
no problem.
yeah.
One of the shows I used to love, and I personally love Aaron Sorkin's writing. I think he's amazing. One of the shows I loved that I was recent of his was The Newsroom. And it started out with this amazing 3 minutes. And that's Sorkin.